Katie Krimitsos on the power of Facebook.
Literally, from their Facebook page, they had somebody fly to Alabama, go pick up this dog, bring it back here. And by that time, because they had shared this story, they already had somebody who was ready to adopt. The power of that is so magical.
This is Pawprint, an animal rescue community. Episode 12. I'm Harold Ree.
I'm Nancy Ree.
Today's guest is the enthusiastic and energetic Katie Krimitsos.
Katie Krimitsos is host of the popular business podcast Biz Women Rock, focused on women business owners and entrepreneurs. She also has a passion for social media, and today she shares some terrific Facebook strategies that you can apply to your animal rescue organization.
If you happen to be in the Tampa, Florida area and would like a chance to see Katie, she's organizing a podcasting convention in February called Podfest. Go to podfest.us for more details. It'll be running from February 23rd through the 25th. If you want to learn more about Katie and Biz Women Rock, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/12. That's the number 12.
Probably first and foremost, that's right on top of my brain is that I am at the moment about 8.5 months pregnant. So I'm an expectant mother for the first time. That's one of my roles. My husband and I also run an organization in Tampa called the Tampa Bay Business Owners, which is an entrepreneurs association. Separately than that, I'm also a fellow podcaster and have had the privilege of hosting a podcast called Biz Women Rock for the past year and a half. And that has actually launched an entire online business for me to really bring together an entire community of business women all over the world and provide a lot of resources for them. So, and then of course, the fourth component, which is exactly, the major component why we're talking today is I'm a massive animal lover, huge supporter of, animals and doing whatever we need to help them out. And I do that really on a personal level. So
Tell us a little bit about your two wonderful birds.
The story is that my husband is actually the bird person. I've always liked animals, but I never really had any sort of animal as my own as an adult. But my husband, growing up, fell in love with birds for some reason, became massively obsessed with birds, used to have tons of birds, buy and sell birds, raise birds, all that sort of stuff. So when we met, he didn't own any at the time, but he would suggest for like a little fun date, hey, let's go stop by the bird store. I was like, what's a bird store? They have stores for birds. And so I got used to in those first couple of months, just stopping by the bird store and checking out the birds. And they terrified the hell out of me at first. I think they do for a lot of people. I was like, this thing's going to pluck out my eyeballs. And then the fateful day is a couple months into us dating, we stopped at the bird store and he put this little Sun Conure, little parrot, little Sun Conure on my finger and said, okay, just hold this one. And I had her at an arm's length away because I didn't really know how to hold her. I was sweating profusely because I was scared. And we just kind of sat there and stared at each other for 10 minutes. And I was looking at her. She was looking at me. And by the end, my husband went off to go play with other birds. And by the end of that, he came back and I looked right at him and by this time, my eyes were like totally mesmerized. I was like, she has kind eyes. Can we get her?
Right.
So I think he was like, score. Yes, my plan worked. Ever since then, that was 6 years ago now. Her name is Sammy the Sun Conure. So we've had her for 6 years. And then 3 years ago, right after we got married, we got her brother. We got a brown-headed parrot named Charlie. And they've just been the loves of my life for all those years. So, yeah.
That's great. For those who aren't maybe as familiar hanging out with parrots, what do you love about them? What are some of the needs that they have that are specific to them?
Yeah, great question. So what I love about them, it actually worked in my benefit that I did not know anything about birds because I was sort of forced to just care for Sammy in the very beginning. The only way I really knew how, and I didn't know what was quote unquote appropriate for a bird or not. So just really early on, we bonded. She's very touchy-feely. Every bird is different, which makes birds very unique. Like, no two birds are the same. They have their very, very different personalities. Charlie is not cuddly, but he likes to be touched and petted, but just a little bit and only at certain times. Sammy will go down my shirt and wants to cuddle up in my hair and needs to be touched all the time. And so I just have loved just how full of life both of them are. And for the longest time, I think one of the reasons we ended up getting Charlie, the second one, is because Sammy didn't know that she was a bird. Sammy really thought that she was a little human being. And what's been great about them is birds are very, depending on what type of breed that you get, they're very self-sufficient, but they do need socialization. So Sun Conures and parrots in general really need people there. They need socialization a lot, but you can leave them, you're not tied to them at the house. I mean, you can leave them for hours at a time and they're totally okay. We've gone on trips. We went to Greece earlier in the summer. We were gone for 2 weeks and we had our bird sitter come over, once a day to kind of play with them and feed them and refresh water. And they definitely missed us by the time we got back, but they were perfectly happy, like they were great. So I don't have to kennel them. I don't have to do any of that. They're just very unique beings that just amaze me all the time. Sammy is a Sun Conure, and Sun Conures are very well known for being very loud. As a matter of fact, when we bought her, the lady selling her to us was like, now that this is Sun Conure, right? And I had no idea. My husband did, of course. But she, just because she had only been around humans for the first, couple of years of her life, did not know. She is not nearly as loud as other Sun Conures are, but she's still loud. She communicates in her own way. We potty trained her. Yeah, I didn't know that you could do that with birds. But
I had no idea.
So literally, we potty trained her just like a kid. Like we would kind of notice her tell for when she had to go. So I'd grab her, put her right over either the toilet or a trash can or her special place and, okay, poopy. And when she pooped, then, she got a lot of love because she didn't care about food, but she wanted a lot of love. And pretty soon now, she's potty trained. So we know when she has to go, we can go take her to wherever she needs to go, or she'll crawl to where her special place to go poop. And then Charlie is a brown-headed parrot, which is in the African, same as like the African gray. That's the most popular one that people know. So he's of that family breed. And so he is genius at imitating noises. So if you've ever heard like that Periscope tweet that comes out, he mimics that perfectly.
No kidding.
Yeah. So, and then our neighbor just moved in and she has a couple of dogs. And so, she'll walk the dogs around. So he's hearing the dogs. So he's starting to make a weird dog sound. They imitate, on point, like right on point, which is so cool. So.
Wow. Now, going back to you, tell us a little bit about where you grew up. What was your journey to become essentially this kind of like this rock star entrepreneur? You and your husband just do so many different things.
Yeah. So I grew up in Arizona. I'm one of 6 kids, which I think, and I was number 4 out of the 6. So I from an early age, I think just part of my personality was needing to stand out, needing to make a difference, needing to, be recognized. That's, I think, typical middle child syndrome.
Okay.
But I always knew that I wanted to make a big impact. My parents raised 6 very free thinking, very loyal, very warm people. And so I always was raised with sort of like make this world a better place and really follow your dreams and everything else follows. So I came out to Florida. I live in Tampa, Florida, and I came out to Florida about 14 years ago for grad school. Oh. And never left.
Switching to now your phenomenal podcast, Biz Women Rock, what was the genesis?
The genesis was a couple of things. Number one, on the personal side, I knew that we were wanting a family sometime in the near future, and I wanted a business that was a lot more flexible, that I didn't have to show up to, 8 to 12 meetings a month. And it didn't require me to be anywhere, that I could really do it from home and I could do it with a baby in one hand. And 2, it actually came out of e-marketing groups because, we're constantly, bringing people through there. And our organization tends to be very innovative and on the cutting edge of a lot of social media technology. Gentleman by the name of Steve Cherubino, who's a local guy who had been podcasting for 6, 7, 8 years, I think. Unbelievable. Which, in our industry is actually quite a long time.
Yes, very long time.
My husband is very much a creative. And so he's always looking for kind of new, cool projects, ways to sort of make bigger impacts and all that stuff. Sort of percolating for both of us. And as a matter of fact, we were sitting down with our consultant one day and both of us kind of came to the table and said, well, I have this idea. And Chris said, well, I have this idea for a podcast. And our consultant very wisely said, okay, you guys already run a company that takes up a lot of time. You can't launch 2 businesses, separate businesses at the same time. So choose one. And I went out because I had it very niche down already. His was a little bit more vague at that time. And so I was like, nope, business women, and I had done enough research to know that at that time, at the end of 2013, there was no home for business women in the podcasting space. They were getting interviewed on a lot of other podcasts, which is great, but there was only one other show that was hosted by a woman, only featured business women, talked about business women. And I was like, there's definitely room for this. I want to be that. So I want to be the home. I had no business model when I started. I was like, just launch it. I don't know what it's going to be. I'll figure it out along the way. And contrary to a lot of podcasters who were launching business podcasts at the time, I'm not a consultant, and it was not a way for me to have a marketing arm for my consulting business. There was no back office or, behind the scenes product or service that people could buy from me by me, putting myself out there and having the shows. What it truly could be did not really take shape until late last year, when I finally really saw that what I had launched was so much bigger than a podcast. It wasn't just a podcast. It was a brand. It was a brand in and of itself. And it was a space I was moving into. So Biz Women Rock now is an entire brand. It is the place where you go and you become a part of this community of other online business women who are proactive about growing their companies, about really collaborating and connecting with other business women, about really plugging into a community.
I don't know how you get any sleep between the two ventures.
Believe it or not, I do. I delegate a lot.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm a systems gal too, so I'm very specific about trying to make things as easy as possible.
Right. Let's talk about Facebook, because that's where I first met you. You're very passionate about Facebook.
One of the examples that I'm going to give right up front that people can go look at is it's called the Suncoast Animal League.
That's right.
And they're actually local here in the Tampa Bay area. And they have just shy of 50,000 people who like their Facebook page. It's a page.
Right,
so
okay.
It is that brand speaking to those people who have said, yes, I like that brand. I want to keep in communication with that brand. And one thing, I'm going to use that company as an example because it's right up this niche, but I'm kind of coming at it from my experience building a Facebook page and building a very successful one with business women. So two different niches, same type of track. So what the Suncoast Animal League does very well is they're so good at telling stories and they're so good at sharing pictures. I'll give you a couple of examples. And they've built this up. I mean, again, pages and having a brand recognition on Facebook is not an overnight success. It is a constant build of, getting yourself out there more and more. Now, I don't know their strategy behind it, but I can at least from a viewer standpoint tell you what I see that they've done well. Number one, they definitely post a lot of pictures. So they end up sort of, doing all the rescuing of cats and dogs and all sorts of animals. And then their job is to try and help, adopt them out to forever homes. So when they post these pictures of these 5 beautiful dogs who are up for adoption your heart just goes out to every one of them. You're like, they're so cute.
Right.
They're gonna get traction just because of the visual of it.
Absolutely.
I've definitely seen them do videos that make it even more personal. Like, hey, meet Charlie. And this is who Charlie is. And look at how cute he is. And that helps draw in an audience of people, of their followers who already, are animal people. Then what they do is they tell stories. I don't know the exact sort of facilitator of the page personally, and I can't remember his name, but every once in a while he'll get on and almost have this mini blog post. And it's very beautiful about the experience he had with this animal and sort of the traumatic thing that happened to this dog and what has to happen. And here's the turnaround story. And he makes this beautiful story that you just get so enveloped in. I mean, kind of the trend on Facebook is make it quick, make it visual, and then get me out of there. But this is the antithesis of that. And it works because you get really enthralled by the story that he's telling about this animal. So he really personalizes it, brings you into the story, it kind of makes you want to have ownership over this story of this animal.
Right.
And so I'll give you one example of what they did. One time somebody had written into them and told them about how there was this abused dog up in Alabama or something like that. It was very far away. They found out about this. They wanted to help the dog, but they, they're nonprofit and they don't really have the funds to do it or to do that kind of stuff all the time. So they put it out to their 50,000 people, told the story about this dog. Guys, is there anyone who could help us? Here's what we want to do. They had pictures of the dog and they were not pretty pictures. I mean, so your heart really got to connect with it. Here's what ended up happening that was so beautiful. Somebody who follows their page, who, is a fan of their page, is a pilot and was like, we have a plane. We'll go pick him up and we'll bring him home, because it was like a very sensitive situation. Like the dog really was in really bad shape. So it kind of needed that care. Literally from their Facebook page, they had somebody fly to Alabama, go pick up this dog, bring it back here. And by that time, because they had shared this story, they already had somebody who was ready to adopt.
That is unbelievable.
The power of that is so magical. So I'll talk a little bit about the strategy that I know of to build something that has that potential.
Sure, absolutely.
So what we did when we started the Biz Women Rock Facebook page, first and foremost, so if you are listening to this and you're like, I love animals, I'm passionate about animals, and I want to do something, but I don't know how or what to call that, but I just know I want to help. When I launched my Facebook page, I did not have a podcast yet. I knew I was going to have one, but I didn't have one yet. So what I did is I created a brand name and just sort of, I started running ads to this Facebook page just to see if it resonated with people. Like, does that brand really resonate with people? Okay. So if you're in the space of like, let me try out names, I want to kind of do this type of a rescue, or I want to do this type of a service or support, just create a page, which is free. Try running ads to it, and you could do literally $5 a day, or $2 a day. I mean, you could have a very manageable budget just trying ads. And what ads will do is you can choose the audience that you want to go to. So you can actually choose in Facebook, I want this ad to be seen by people who have said in their profile that they love animals, or that they love dogs, or that they love birds, or whatever that is. And if you choose to start a bird sanctuary and do an ad to people who love birds, I'm going to see it because I love birds, and I've told Facebook that.
That's right.
So what that will allow you to do is get your brand in front of people who are your target market, and if they like it, they will choose like, yes, I like this page and I want to know more about this page.
Right.
And then simultaneously, what you must do in order to make that first initial investment work is you have to be active on the page.
Right.
You have to be posting pictures, posting things that target market will find interest in and want to know more about.
That's right.
If you are wanting to create a rescue for, I don't know, pit bulls or something like that, like a very specific thing, and I want to do this pit bull support, create funny memes, find funny memes, look for stuff on the internet that already exists out there that you can now post on your page, share pictures of pit bulls, tell stories about pit bulls, tell stories about what you're seeing. The whole idea behind any social media, but most definitely when you're building a Facebook page, is to get engagement, get people to comment, get people to share it, get people to like it. And you have to just practice on what posts work well for that.
That's right.
So those are ways that I would assume that the Suncoast Animal League probably did and practiced and got really great at. And that's definitely stuff that I did for Biz Women Rock page in the very beginning to be able to get that traction.
When do you make the conscious decision between a Facebook page and a Facebook group?
The visual that I always give people on the difference between a Facebook group and a Facebook page. So a Facebook page is when your brand, remember you have this profile on Facebook, a personal profile. So Harold, you have Harold on Facebook.
Right.
If you choose to create a page, your page is now the name brand that your business has, right? Or whatever that brand is.
So let's just call it Animal Rescue Podcast. So
gotcha.
that would be the page, right?
Animal Rescue Podcast is your brand, and that's your page. Now, Animal Rescue Podcast now as a page gets to talk to your target market, to the person who's going to get value out of that page, right? And they get to talk back to you, you get to talk back to them. And that's awesome. What a Facebook group does is it allows Harold, the individual, the person who's representing the brand of Animal Rescue Podcast, talk to all of those people. And most importantly, it allows those people to talk to each other. It's an online forum. That's probably the easiest description of it. So a Facebook group is an online forum. So, and my belief system is, because I'm a huge Facebook groups advocate, is that the forum works for any niche because everyone wants to connect over their area of interest, right? So I have a friend who has the horse radio network and has, 6 different shows all about horses.
That's
and
right.
It's a massive niche. I had used him in an example going, he's the perfect person to have a group because people who are passionate about horses want to be around other people who are passionate about horses. And you could be the leader of that group. Right. And you could be the person who's responsible for bringing them all together. So once again, if you're sitting there and listening to this and you're thinking, I want to do something, one of the best things that you could do is bring together the people who also have that same passion that you have so that you can create something, so that you can make it move and make it work for you. So, let's say you call it Dog Lovers of Pennsylvania, and that's your group. Mm-hmm. You could literally do ads on Facebook, again, very targeted, to people who live in Pennsylvania, people who love dogs, and invite them to your group. And now you become the leader of that group. And you are sort of, again, doing what we do here on a local level, bringing like minds together for a common purpose, but doing that online in a space that, for the most part, is free. I mean, you don't have to spend money on ads. I highly recommend it because it's such a smart use of marketing dollars, and very minimally. But you don't have to. You could absolutely create a group very organically.
And when you mean organically, you're just inviting friends, and hopefully and your friends invite their friends, kind of thing.
Exactly. So now let's say that you've put the word out to maybe 100 people that you know that might be interested in this, and let's say 20 of them show up as a part of your group because they're interested and they're sort of behind what you're sort of driving for, what you've created. Well, now you can ask those 20 people, like attracts like. If you're passionate about helping dogs in Pennsylvania, you're going to know other people who are passionate about helping dogs in Pennsylvania. So you just you continue to sort of dig in and ask for referrals, basically. Hey, guys, if you have anyone else who you think would benefit from being a part of this group, go invite them. Tell them to come here. So now your group can definitely grow organically. Right. But again, I mean, the benefits of a page are really that your brand, I'm a believer you should have both. Your brand gets to talk to the target market and the audience and gets to deliver really great value to them, and vice versa. They get to talk back to you. The Facebook group is really where you can bring all those people together and really move mountains. That's where I believe that you become the leader of a movement of whatever that specific area is that you really want to make a dent in. The
creation of your niche or your population, right? You mentioned it. Yeah. It's like, hey, how about like something like, for example, pit bull lovers in Pennsylvania, something like that. When is a niche too big and when is a niche too small?
Have you ever heard the term, the riches are in the niches?
I like that.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. And I don't believe that there's such a thing as a niche too small. One of my friends and a member of the Biz Women Rock community has a Facebook group about purple rice because purple rice literally helped her family's cholesterol drop like crazy, got them on a great health track. So she created a Facebook group all about purple rice, and she has 5,700 people literally who are active in this group because they believe in the health benefits of purple rice. So you want to talk about niches?
No kidding.
I really believe if I would have known better back then, I definitely would have niched down biz women. Like what type of biz women are there? Now, after a year and a half of building this business, I know that my niche is business women who want to build a better online business or want to be represented better online in some way, shape, or form, whether they have a brick and mortar business or an online business, but they want to use online tools in order to build their businesses, right?
That's right.
But I'm just a really big believer that you need to be very specific. Dog Lovers Unite is obviously going to do great. But if you're really passionate about a certain type of dog, if you're really passionate about, helping dog lovers who work during the day, if you're really passionate about helping dog lovers in a specific different geographic area,
sure.
My recommendation is always start small because you can always grow from there.
Okay.
You can always open it up to be a little bit bigger of a niche. But I personally believe what's the term? You go an inch wide and a mile deep. You really go deep with the niche that you're really passionate about. And that makes your journey as the organizer of it a lot more fun because you're really in the space that you love instead of sort of having to deal with everything under that umbrella.
Oh, I love that. Well, with that said, anything else from your life experience, your work experience that you think might be applicable to the animal rescue community?
Oh, so many things. So one of the biggest things to get over is how do I do something? And many people are thinking big. How do I do something big? But how do you actually start? Like, what's the first thing I should do? And what's going to make what I do different than what else is already out there? A lot of people, especially in this space, are thinking like, do I have to have a nonprofit? How can I really do this? And I guess I just really want to bring it back to how I'm obviously a big lover of social media. And I just really think that there's so much you could do on social media to make an impact, to get people's eyes on what you're doing and what the cause is to help your cause, that you don't have to build this massive brick and mortar business in order to do that. And so I really, and that to me makes it a lot less scary. You know, you don't have to have this whole nonprofit plan with this 501c3, you know, with 5 employees and, you know, constantly having to write grants. I mean, you could absolutely do that, but it can be almost immediately impactful with a lot less overhead if you really do it online and take advantage of a lot of the online resources to get a brand out there and get your vision known out there. And you could do that in a lot of creative ways. Another page that I want to recommend is called Animal Sanctuary. I think that's just it. Animal Sanctuary. It's up in New York, and they may or may not have a couple places all around the U.S. I'm not 100% sure on that. You know, one thing I want to mention is part of my falling in love with animals and really finally in my life seeing that they are these beautiful beings who have their own souls, who we're really connected to, was I stopped eating meat. And really stopped a lot of dairy intake too. I mean, I really kind of became vegan, and so I started looking for stuff that represented my belief system in that. So, you know, again, there's those people like us who are so passionate about it that we take it to that level. But this place has a Facebook page, and they post so many videos of the animals that they rescue. It's like a farm rescue. So they're rescuing the animals that we typically eat. And, you know, for somebody like me, I really resonate with that. And I fall in love with every single one of those videos that I see. And it makes me more, if they put opportunities for me to sponsor in front of them, I will do it, because I've really loved what they've done online, and they haven't had to build out, you know, a Florida association down here and the time and dollars in order to do that, in order for me to see that and have access to that. So we're living in this global world where you can put your beliefs and your passions out in an online space and do it with such a small budget and make such a large impact on a global scale and be able to make money off of it, be able to drive in revenue to help the cause that you are really passionate about. I tend to gravitate towards Facebook because that's where I'm most comfortable. That's where I have the most fun. But there are plenty of platforms that can do that. You know, Facebook is one of my favorite to do that. And I think it's so easy to start there and see where it goes from there.
Great. How do folks get in touch with you?
So they can directly go to my website at bizwomenrock.com or find me on Facebook. So Katie Krimitsos. And just find me online and connect with me there. And if there's any way that I can help, I love doing that.
Thank you to Katie Krimitsos for sharing her story and for some amazing Facebook strategies. When we interviewed her, she was 8 months pregnant, and we're pleased to announce that she and her husband, Chris, are proud parents to a beautiful baby girl. If you want to learn more about Katie, and as I mentioned before, see her in Tampa, Florida at Podfest, go to our show notes at thisispawprint.com/12. If you want to learn more about me and Nancy, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Look for This Is Pawprint. We actually do have a Facebook page and a Facebook group based on Katie's advice. If you want to hear more episodes, you can find us on iTunes or SoundCloud. Those are the 2 most popular ways to find us. Go to thisispawprint.com/iTunes or thisispawprint.com/SoundCloud. We're on plenty of other podcasting platforms as well. We want to say thank you to all of you, our listeners out there, for inspiring us with your stories and spreading a positive message of love and peace by saving an animal. Have a great day, and see you next time on Pawprint.
Pawprint is a production of EVER Education.
You can't handle the truth!
Woohoo!